Hi, welcome to Classic Car Cave. So I know I did an update on Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Can't remember. Or Monday, whenever it was, a few days ago. And since then, I've talked to Coventry Auto spares that were very, very good about it. A guy called Steve, very helpful chap. And I explained the situation. Now, the warning is if you've got an XK150 and it's an early model, now, for the limited numbers they made of S specification cars, and knowing at the time they had massive order books and they were building the cars to order, the S specs were so low numbers. I think in total it was only 200 and something, 250, whatever, I don't know exactly. And then the Roadster form, maybe that was only 50, 60, I don't know. But they must have made the bodies different for the Roadsters. So they were obviously made to order, because I thought that the kit that I bought, this kit here, which I've repacked up again, it will fit on the car, but you need to put it in when the engine is out, preferably the engine and gearbox. But you certainly could not, or it would be extremely difficult to fit it in with the engine in place. There's nowhere to get a drill in, or there's nowhere to see what you're doing, and you'd really kind of make a mess of it. So, as I said, in the video, you'll see some pictures of my friend's S specification car, and you'll see where it goes against the bulkhead, the firewall on each side of the gearbox tunnel. Now, you'll also see that the heater is in a different position, because in 58 they changed, the later ones would change, the heat was in a different position, or the fan was in a different position. So it's not just that the body was like that, the later models were like that. But the throttle linkage was, in the S's, had this slit in them, which you'll see in the picture, and I'll point it out with a voiceover, where you had to put it in across the pedals, and put where the crank is to go under the pedal. You kept hold of that, and you had to push it through, but it had a solid welded rod on it for the link to go up and down. So the hole had to be big enough to get that through, and the rod, and then bolted to the inside of the gearbox tunnel. And then there was a Thackeray washer on the other side. So obviously these kits are made to make it into an S specification car, but to do it without, the time to do it is to buy it when you're building the car, preferably before you paint it and everything else, and set it up then, long before you finish the car up, or the lead work or whatever, and paint it. But trying to retrofit it, not an easy job. With the engine out, yeah. But preferably with no engine and gearbox would be the best time to do it. So this is a warning. Now, I don't know that for a fact that all the cars were made the same way, because I don't have enough knowledge of the later cars, but this car was 119th, 119 off the line. And this came out in February. And they didn't, from my research, hopefully somebody can tell me different, but from my research, they didn't start making the S specification car until March. So maybe later on they were all that way. I don't know. I don't have that experience and knowledge of them. I only know this car and the other car we worked on, which was a bit later, but I don't remember this slit in the inner wing. Anyway, that being said, I've packed this up. They've been very decent and said they'll give me a credit note for it. So when we go to the UK in September for Goodwood, I'm going to take it with me. It'll go in the airline baggage. And a friend of mine will post it back to them, and they'll give me a credit note. There's bound to be something I need. These cars always need something. So I'll show you where we are, where we started with and where we are now. I hope you enjoy the video. So this is the new plan we've come up with. So the issue has been that is the original rod on that side there, but the angle from here to there is too great, and that's why it was jamming. So Amir's found this piece of steel and bent it and welded it in here and on the back side. What we'll do now is cut this piece off so it looks like it's original, paint it black of course, but as you can see it's quite close to there, but as you can see it goes up and down straight. There's no springs on it, of course, as you can see. So what we want to do now is make a bracket for this piece in here. We need some kind of bracket to hold this shaft, and some kind of bearing or whatever. So we're going to try and make something for that. But that's going to do the trick. But we will cut that piece off because it looks awful, and hopefully that'll do the trick. So as you can see, this is a picture from my friend's car in the States. If you look on the left hand side of the bulkhead, that's where the Thackeray washer is, and you can see how low down it goes in comparison to where mine is. And in this one, you can see, if you look on the right hand side of the bulkhead, even though the heat is different, you see that big black slit that's coming down at an angle? That's what it doesn't have in it, and it doesn't have the receiver the other end. This is where we are with the linkage. So this is the original SE linkage, and you can see if I use, let me use a pencil, excuse me. So the original linkage came along there, and you can see where this weld is here. I'll show you the weld there. This arm, we've made a brand new, complete brand new arm and welded it top and bottom and here and at the back. But the original arm came out like this, in that position. So there was that kind of distance between them. About an inch, I would think, inch and a quarter maybe. A couple of centimetres, 2.5 centimetres, whatever. And what that was doing was making this link rod go at an angle. So instead of being straight up and down perpendicular like that, when you looked at it from the front, it was on an angle. So when you accelerated, you were putting a lot of pressure on that ball and socket, and on here as well. And I'll use this as a pointer. And here on this on this butterfly rod here. And so what we've done is made this bracket on the back with a bushing in the back of it here, so that this spindle, well, what was happening with this spindle is the spindle was wobbling up and down, and consequently that's going to wear on the inside of that SU carburetor there, where the seal is to not allow air in through the butterfly or through the shaft. So if I operate this now, you can see that this is going up and down nicely, and it's straight and doesn't catch. It doesn't. Before it was catching on here. So it goes up and down nicely, and that's fully closed, fully open, and it returns nicely. And you can see there's no wobble in this end piece here where there was before. You can see the shaft's nice and tight. And we've put some new pieces on here and here, because what was happening is they weren't in sync. So when you opened the first carburetor, it was a split second before the next one opened, and they need to be synced up. They need to be in sync. So if I operate this, you can see the other one operates exactly at the same time, and there. So all three are in sync now. So what we need to do now is just tune them, and we change the spring return position as well. We cleaned up the brackets and painted them, put the springs back on, so now that is working perfectly. And you can see, if I can show you from that position there, you see how this is now vertical. Before it was like that. Well, you can imagine it was still on that same place, but there. And that's what was jamming it. So if you need to do this conversion, this is what you need to do. And you can see now, even though there's a slight, it's a fraction of what it was. It's just coming off vertical, in fact. So there we are. So tomorrow I'm going to take off this float bowl. There's a slight weep from it, so we've got plenty of gaskets, so we'll do that. And check all the lines out. These Banjo Union gaskets tend to they get a bit hard, so we'll change that as well, because this engine has been running now for 7 years. I'd forgotten it's that long. Okay, so underneath you can see, so you can see we can get to the carburetors now very easily. We can put the tester on it. I haven't got it here with me. Oh, so we can put the tester on it to make sure the vacuum or the balance is correct on all of them. There is no right number in this window, on these windows. It's just to make sure that they're all exactly the same. That's the key to it. There is no figure to look at. Also, you can see we've made a bracket now on the inner wing for this. And for this fuel filter, which we have to actually cut down. Amir's made that this afternoon, but it isn't right. These are going to be a problem. They need to go on the other way around. These are going to be a problem here. Yeah, I'll talk to him about that anyway. We'll get it done. But yeah, so Max is going to come eventually, hopefully, sometime soon. And then he can tune these carbs, and we can tune the ignition as well, or get the timing 100%. The new gauge is in, as you can see. There's the new sender. I think that there was no ether left in this sender, so that's all done. And the gauge is in, the new gauge there, and it works perfectly. Temperature's up, coming up, oil pressure's good. There was nothing wrong with the original gauge with the oil pressure side. It was the temperature wasn't working, because I think the ether had leaked out, which I'll show. Oil pressure is really nice. But obviously the carbs are not set up. There you can see it's starting to go now already. Okay, good. So on that note, we're off to Croatia tomorrow for a week. So I'll catch up with you next week, and hopefully I can get Max up here to tune these carbs and do the ignition timing and get it bob on, and then go out and test it maybe the week after. So I'll see you in a week's time. As usual, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby.